Hi, Midget Radio. This is Tactic Angel. You fat fuck. We're supposed to be recording a podcast right now. I'm going to call you back in a minute, but I wanted to make sure that you got this angry message. Thank you. Bye. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Wednesday Night Gentlemen Multimedia Empire official podcast. You are listening to episode number 59. This is a show where we like to talk about comic books, movies, TV shows, video games, and everyone's favorite political discourse. I am your host, Tactic Angel, and with me is Midget Radio, my murderous socialist friend.
Hello,
Midget Radio. How are you today?
I'm doing all right. I'm kind of tired. I had to help somebody move today, Tactic Angel. I'm a little
Did
worn
you have
out.
to?
I had to. And
Put
I
a
have
gun to your head?
It was a knife, actually, but...
They put a knife to your head?
Directly to my head, like a gun. It was confusing, but also scary.
And you were like, maybe you should go for the... No, never mind. Are you going to stab me in the eye?
I mean, that would suck, right? Like, I would rather help somebody move than get stabbed in the eye.
Then you could, like, rock an eye patch.
That's true. That could be cool. That could be actually... That could be an upgrade.
Like your thing,
really.
Right?
Like
you got the big beard and the eye patch.
That'd be pretty badass. It would really up my look, I think.
And then whenever anyone asks you about it, you're like, well, the other guy's wearing two eye patches, so.
Right. And they're still where they are because I didn't help them move. Boom.
And they're blind.
How are you, buddy?
I'm okay. I've got a little bit of the Knob Creek. It is whiskey, 50% alcohol. I think it's made by one of the big two American things.
Yeah, that stuff's not bad.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Yeah.
One of the guys we play with offered me a bottle of it. I declined it, and then several years later purchased a bottle.
Okay.
Big swing and a miss there.
Yeah. That's all right. It's not bad.
Yeah, I would say it's all right. I prefer the Bullet over this.
Yeah, that's what I'm drinking. So.
Oh, wow.
I'm on a bullet run. I'm on a bullet fucking run.
This is good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Okay, well, we should just jump into it then, right?
I love it.
This week we are talking about Ant-Man and the Wasp. Ant-Man and the Wasp is the unlikely sequel to Marvel's Ant-Man comic book character who headlined what I would call an equally unlikely movie bearing the name Ant-Man. It stars the ever-charming Paul Rudd as Scott Lang, the titular Ant-Man, Evangeline Lilly as Hope Pym, an even more titular Wasp, if you have a sort of juvenile sense of humor and notice that titular has tit in it.
Just the one tit, but...
Michael Douglas as Hank Pym, and I want to say Michael Pena as Luis, but if I do, I should probably also mention that Hannah John Kamen, Michelle Pfeiffer, Lawrence Fishburne, and Walter Goggins are also in this movie. Midget Radio, have you always noticed that titular has tit in it?
Every time. It's hard not to think about. That's why it's called titular, I think. It's tit-like. That's the etymology.
Because it's exciting?
Yeah.
Because it's exciting.
No, etymology is titties. And they're
It has
exciting.
nothing to do with title.
No. Okay. No. It has absolutely nothing to do with that. That's more letters. Tit is fewer letters. Maybe tit.
L.
Maybe tit is the etymological root of title also.
I think you're taking this farther than I wanted you to.
I bet I am.
Midget Radio, normally what I ask is first impressions. Ant-Man versus the Wasp. Actually, part of the movie is kind of that.
It is a little bit
Ant-Man
that.
and the Wasp. What do you think, buddy?
Walton Goggins. I was excited about that. I was excited when fucking Boyd Crowder showed up on screen. He's great. He's wonderful. I hope there's more of him.
I liked Walter Goggins. I actually was really sort of amused that Lawrence Fishburne was in this movie.
Yeah, that's true. He was. Yeah.
And I think that Michelle Pfeiffer is sold short in general as an actress.
Yes, I agree with that.
It's not something that we get to see a whole lot of in this movie, but God, she really was, like, without a doubt, the best Catwoman.
Oh my God, yes. Far. Oh my God, her performance in fucking Batman Returns is just phenomenal.
She's...
Yeah. Yeah, I love her. So yeah, it was cool to see her. I mean, overall impressions, I think my reaction to this movie is probably about the same as my reaction to the first Ant-Man movie. I think there's a lot of things in this one that didn't quite work, but like, I don't really care about Ant-Man. I don't really care about Ant-Man and the Wasp. I mean, this felt like kind of a perfectly serviceable fucking Marvel superhero film. It wasn't very good, and it wasn't very bad, but I don't know. I guess where Marvel just continues to excel for me is in the casting, and Paul Rudd's fucking great. Paul Rudd's absolutely great. He's always fun to watch on screen, and I don't know. It'd be weird seeing these movies. Like, I just wonder who else they could have cast in the role of Ant-Man to even make these kind of moderately interesting, because I think he brings a lot. I think he really brings likable, a lot. And that's
and to be fair, like Evangeline Lilly and Michael Douglas, they do play well off of his sort of clownish character. Like you do get the Hank Pym straight man, but the straight man's often the funniest guy.
Yeah.
I don't think he is in this case, but he does have several lines that I chuckled at.
Yeah.
For sure. So I'm going to guess that means Midget Radio thought it was okay, but didn't really love it.
No.
I had a lot of fun in this movie.
Really?
I had a lot of fun in this movie.
I don't get it.
I think that this movie hit me right where emotionally I needed it to.
Okay.
And that was kind of after what I would describe as the disappointment of Infinity War and honestly Luke Cage, which we talked about last couple of weeks. It was just nice to see what I would call a mostly harmless movie that was fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that actually is kind of the one major criticism I would level against it, is that there isn't an impending sense of danger for a lot of it.
No.
There are stakes, and I appreciate that the stakes are not that the world explodes.
Sure.
As it always does.
Sure.
But I mean, there is a palpable sense that it's not as dangerous as a lot of even the smaller plots that we see.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I liked it a lot.
Well, good. I'm glad. It did feel like kind of a low key movie to me, which I do appreciate. I think the only issue that I sort of had with that is that the stakes that were present in the film did not really make a lot of sense to me. That it just didn't really hold together very well. I mean, I like that it's not world ending. I think it's kind of interesting, and this isn't a real spoiler or anything, but they do deal a little bit more with the quantum realm in this movie, which I think is probably like Ant-Man's strongest. That's its strongest element. I think that's really what it's bringing to the table more than anything else as far as building up the Marvel universe. But so I liked that element, but kind of I don't know, man. The ticking clock element around it, and then some of the competing interests that raise the stakes in the movie, because it's in a lot of ways it's just kind of a heist movie, like
it is,
and with people kind of just trading possession of the MacGuffin, and that's okay to a point. I mean, there's nothing inherently wrong with that, but some of the motivations just didn't really make a lot of sense.
I would say that all of the motion, all of the motivations did make sufficient sense for the plot. How you understand that as a person watching the movie, maybe give or take, depending on how much you're willing to give the movie. But I mean, particularly we'll get into this more in the spoilers, but like Goggins' character, like I understand what he wants.
Yeah, that's not an issue. Yeah.
And I understand what Hannah John Kamen's character wants to do, even if I don't understand the science involved with it. And I understand where Lawrence Fishburne's coming from. And
Kinda.
like all these,
Yeah.
they all more or less make sense. I mean, like, there's nothing that's out of left field. There's just part of you that's like, well, how does that work?
I think some of the conflict is a little manufactured. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe that's what I'm referring to when I say the motivations don't make sense. Is that some of the conflict that the movie relies on feels a little manufactured to me. To make the plot go.
I think a good portion of it is probably sort of the overstated, stupid superhero fight thing.
Yeah.
And this is particularly with how like Ghost and the rest of the cast get along with each other. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's really the one part of the movie that's kind of like, and I would expect you to like this because it's ultra comic booky in that it's like stupid conflict, and there's always stupid conflict in comic book characters.
Yeah, it may work if I actually like gave a shit about the characters, and I just don't. Like, Scott Lang's not interesting to me. Hank Pym's not interesting to me.
Midget Radio.
Hope
this is
not
where I get
interesting to me.
so upset with you sometimes because, like, I don't give a fuck about Spider-Man. In fact, I am beyond giving no fucks. I actually really dislike him.
Yeah.
But when they come out with a solid Spider-Man movie, it's like, that movie was fucking good.
Yeah, it was good, yeah.
And like, if you're so divorced from the characters that you're not going to give the movie a chance, then like what was, now this isn't the case, but what if it was the Citizen Kane of comic book movies? I think we've already seen the Citizen Kane of comic book movies, but
yeah. Well, if it was that, I would care about the characters, right? Like, I mean, that's the movie's job. I just don't like what's interesting about Scott Lang. What's interesting about him? He's a good father. He's been to prison, but he's a really good father, and he loves his kid, and he gets along with his ex-wife and her husband, which is kind of adorable.
That's Judy Greer,
which was cool. But that like
oh
that's,
my god, I love her.
See, I don't think there's much there on him. Like Scott Lang's character, you can summarize in one word, and that is adorable. Basically, that's it, and that's fine, and that's fine. Like if that's enough for you, that's totally great, man. I'm not, I don't mean to push back on that, but it's just boring to me. I like Paul Rudd. Scott Lang is Paul Rudd. I like seeing Paul Rudd in movies. That's about it. Past that, I don't really care. It's not, he's not a Tony Stark. He's not a fucking Steve Rogers. He's not anybody who has any real weight or is really very interesting beyond the fact that he's kind of charming. And that's all, so it's just kind of I just think he's kind of an empty character.
Disagree.
What's his conflict here? Like, can you even say that there's anything resembling an arc for him in this movie?
I wouldn't say there's a ton of an arc for him. There are definitely some interpersonal things that he wants to correct, and a lot of that stems out of Civil War. And you can also sense, like, there's a lot of this movie that is actually unseen because it's implied, and this isn't really a spoiler because the movie sort of takes it for granted the entire time and never explains it.
Yeah.
So I don't think it can qualify as a spoiler, but like there's a lot between Evangeline Lilly as Hope and Paul Rudd as Scott Lang, and they kind of apparently had some sort of relationship that got screwed over by Lang becoming an international criminal.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah.
Not again. I guess before he was a local
Just
criminal.
regular, yeah.
And now he became an international criminal.
Yeah.
Begging for orange slices.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, to make things right with the Pims is kind of his motivation. We see him go through a lot for that, but he's also trying to make right by his family. I think it's interesting enough. It's not like a major transformation for the character.
No. Very
Very rarely is any movie plus the number 2 going to be that.
No.
And I don't know. I don't know.
Well, then you can't get mad at me. So
I can.
It's not allowed.
Because you hate fun.
I don't. I like
Midget Radio.
Spider-Man also. I just
Midget
don't really
Radio.
give a shit about old Ant-Man.
Well, that's just racist.
that might be. That might
You're
be.
racist
Racist against ant people?
against ants.
That's possible.
You're like pro spider, anti-ant. Anti-ant? Anyway. Midget Radio, do you have anything you want to get out there for the general public before we put up that big, beautiful spoiler tag?
No, I'm good.
Give
I'm
me
good.
some stars,
Rate
asshole.
this bitch. I'm gonna give it 2.5 stars.
2.5 stars.
Yeah.
Holy fuck. I could have called this like a week and a half ago. My name's Midget Radio and I don't have any opinions.
Yeah. It's Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Ant-Man and the Wasp, I would describe, if you can get over the fact that there is not a ridiculous amount of, and I don't know, tell me, actually this is kind of a question before I give my stars. Is it unreasonable to assume that going to jail for 20 years is a sufficient stake that I should care about the character? Or is it just that I expect that everyone needs to be threatened with death? Because all other comic book characters are threatened with death in every other movie.
I utterly feel like that is a sufficient stake. Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
So the only issue that I could see someone having is that the stakes aren't high enough, and it's just because you're used to the stakes being turned up to 11
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
This has big set pieces, and actually probably one of the most exhilarating car chase scenes I have seen in a long time.
Yeah.
I fucking hate car chase scenes.
Well, that's a weird thing to hate, but
So much of it is just like, car rounds a corner, other car tries to run the same corner.
squeals.
Oh, he does it. But like this one was really, really fun.
Yeah. Okay.
I would say if you can get over those two things, Ant-Man is a super great popcorn film. I will give it 4 stars.
Wow.
Tactic Angel has a heart. It's a robotic heart, but he has it.
Okay. 4
Let's
stars.
get those
for
spoilers
Ant-Man
going.
and fucking Wasp.
Ant-Man. I like it. Yes. Paul Rudd is charming, and I feel like they have a lot of gags in this that actually sort of work.
Okay.
Like even like spoilers.
It's up.
Okay.
It's
All right.
up.
So the stupid close-up magic bullshit.
Yeah.
And the entire play with Wu, right? Because Wu's kind of like the lovable doofus in this.
Yeah.
And And like, there's a part of you that's like, yeah, he's the bad guy, but there at no point do they ever make you like really dislike Wu.
No, of course, yeah, no,
Like-
not at all.
He's like, tell me how you did it. You know, like how you did what? The card trick.
Yeah,
And you're like, I thought he was asking about something more major than that.
yeah,
And then Judy Greer's new beau asks a question kind of like that.
yeah.
And then like the guy barges in and you just see the cards explode out of Wu's hands.
Yeah.
It's like, damn it, man, don't you knock? And it's just like, it's little things like that. I think those jokes mostly work. The Baba Yaga stuff, for the most part, worked for me.
God, really? Okay. Sure.
So the ex-con crew, who are running a company called ex-con,
Yes.
kind of feels like, since it starts with an X, that they shouldn't be allowed to do that unless it's
True.
related to one of your comic books.
True.
So the ex-con crew is, they get jumped, and they kind of replay the gag from the first one where they do the drunken history voiceovers.
Yeah.
And like, those are always fun. It's just fun.
Yeah.
Michael Pena is fun.
Yeah. He's pretty good. Yeah.
So I like all the ex-con guys and the gags that go along with that. I think the only thing that didn't quite work with me in terms of gags was the whole, and it honestly, it was probably Deadpool that ruined it for me, because it was the point where they were beating a dead horse with Deadpool's second death scene.
Yeah.
And it just took so fucking long.
Yeah, it did.
And it was
long.
I'll see you again. Where?
Oh.
At the
Yeah.
very end, you're just like, okay, guys.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was fine. I would say most of the humor worked. In large part. I think that's fairly true for most of the Marvel movies, but yeah, I mean, it was fun enough. Yeah. It's funny enough. There's some stuff that I thought was a little boring.
Tell me about the boring things.
I mean, the stuff that just didn't really land for me. The giant ant taking a bath. The giant ant playing fucking drums.
I thought of you when I saw the giant ant playing drums.
He's a much better drummer than I am, so
I thought that exact thing.
It was all right. The truth serum jokes were a little, I don't know, man. I just wasn't like, I don't know.
I
just
thought
wasn't
the
that
truth
into
serum. I thought the truth serum went a little long in the beginning, but the payoff at the end was kind of,
I guess.
really
I
funny.
feel like you could see that coming for a fucking mile, but yeah. I don't know. It was okay. I certainly didn't hate this movie. I don't think it's bad. Honestly, the only reason I even took a half, because 3 is generally the I don't give a fuck, it's fine rating for me. The only reason I took anything off is because I was really disappointed that they didn't do more with the quantum realm. That's it. I would have liked a little more fucking world building, and we got nothing. We really didn't get anything at all, and that's super disappointing. It's basically just like a magic. It's like the inside of a fucking lava lamp. That's it. And when you're in there for a long time, you come out doing magic, apparently.
yeah. So like, that actually is kind of I was real curious, because I could kind of sense where they were going with it once they had that first scene where Ghost and Lawrence Fishburne and Wasp and Pym and Ant-Man, they're all there.
Yeah.
I kind of got a sense where the movie was going to go at that point.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like not a super good thing, but then at the same time, there's a lot of really transparent movies. In term, like that are still fun and watchable and good, even though you know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
That said, like, I was a little bit worried at the beginning that what would happen was that they would get Michelle Pfeiffer back and she would touch Ghost and she would be fine.
Yeah.
And that was what happened.
That's what happened, because you're at the end of the movie at that point. Got to resolve all these fucking conflicts.
So I guess, like, they were trying to hint a little bit at, like, she's charged with these healing particles.
Yep.
And we got to go back to and this is actually the part of the movie that really depressed me. We got to go back to the quantum realm to capture the healing particles.
Yeah.
And then everybody turns to ash and you're like, fuck!
Yeah.
God damn it!
Because that Thanos guy. Yeah.
God, I hate that movie. Like, that movie, I mean, as much Cap hero worship aside, and by the way, I do love the scene where he calls him Cap, and
yeah, me too.
Cap,
I like that too. Yeah, I call him fucking Cap. I get it.
Yeah, because we're good friends.
Yeah,
I would buy Cap a beer.
Totally.
So anyway, like, aside from like the Cap stuff in Infinity War, I didn't have a really fantastic time with it, and honestly, the thing was, for the most part, a big downer. I understand that it's a setup.
Yeah.
But it's still a downer.
Sure.
So when they took this, like, really fun and honestly mostly harmless movie,
yeah,
and then put that at the end of it, I was like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they troll you even harder at the end with the drumming.
Yeah, that was stupid.
I feel like at this point they're trying to not do that anymore. So they're just making them less and less
I don't know,
fulfilling.
Man. I wonder if it's James Gunn's fault, because he's like, I need to have like 18 fucking post-credits scenes because I have just so many jokes in my head, and everybody loves the talking raccoon, a fucking tree. So yeah.
It could be. I mean, it could be.
I don't know.
I don't think that the James Gunn direction is where they should be going.
No.
Like this.
No.
Like, the thing is, like, this movie felt legitimately much more humorous and much more fun than Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh
2.
yeah, I would agree with that all day. Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, all of the jokes in Guardians of the Galaxy were more or less predictable because they're more or less like the writers of Parks and Rec took a bunch of characters that they didn't really give a shit about, and they were just making funnies.
Yeah.
And for the most part, I think like the jokes in this one still service the characters themselves and sort of some of the awkwardness of sort of the comic book nonsense that's happening.
Yeah.
Like when Rudd and Douglas are playing like husband and wife, it's just like, okay.
Yeah.
This is weird.
Yeah.
And he's all prancing around and super happy and like touching everyone's cheek knowingly.
That was pretty good. Yeah. That was a good performance. I like Paul Rudd.
Yeah. And like it, like that all works. But like the Guardians of the Galaxy was always somebody says something serious, 1, 2, 3, let's make fun of the plot.
Yeah. Yeah. It's stupid.
And it just ruined the purpose of the film by making fun of the purpose of the film.
Yeah.
And there's no like, in this one, there's like no major eject buttons, like to kind of kick you out of what's going on.
No,
I mean,
the only thing I did kind of enjoy, which did seem kind of meta to me, was when Paul Rudd was like, do you guys just put quantum in front of every word? That's pretty good.
That I did catch that, and I did think it was a little bit of a Deadpool line.
Yeah.
But not an unreasonable question.
No, of course. No, it absolutely worked. Absolutely worked.
I thought there was a lot of good play between them. Like, let's talk about the other things that I really liked about this.
Okay.
The car chase.
Yeah.
The car chase is hilarious and exciting at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, there was a part of me that actually had sort of like an inter-watching flashback to Inception, which is not to say that I think this movie is in any way as good as Inception, because if we had reviewed Inception, I'd have given it a whole lot more than 4 stars. But like, there was something about it that felt Inception-like, and also like a lot of what they're playing off of is size here, right? Sort of the ridiculousness of the power set that the suit gives to Ant-Man, and enjoying that, like giant Pez dispensers and like riding a Mack truck like it's a skateboard.
Yeah.
Like, all that stuff is super fun, and it's stuff that we haven't really seen before.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, they do it. Yeah, I mean, I would say they do a pretty good job with it. I'm always kind of like, I never understand how the small, tiny car works, because it's like, don't the wheels have to be spinning way faster in order to keep at kind of the same speed? I don't understand. That just doesn't seem to make sense to me. But
that's what took you out?
Yeah, a little bit that. And actually, the one thing I really kind of had a problem with was that they're just like planting buildings everywhere. And it's like, don't you need a foundation? Like, I mean, I don't understand how that works. Like, you got to find like a perfectly flat piece of land. And I didn't see them out there with survey equipment when they were pushing the button to make
I didn't even see them out there with a level. But
I mean, it doesn't matter, but I don't really care. But
I actually, for the most part, forgave it until they got to the woods and the beach.
Yeah.
And it's like, neither of these places.
What are you guys doing?
Well, that didn't work. Let's try it again.
Yeah. And then I kept thinking about the plumbing too. Like, so it's got to all be above ground. How does your septic tank work?
So I started thinking about the power.
Yeah.
Right?
That's it. Yeah.
But then the power is an easy thing to explain away in a Marvel universe because of arc reactors and other stuff.
We just hung an arc reactor off the fucking ceiling.
But I do not know what happens with this shit.
Yeah.
You are correct there.
I'm thinking chemical, maybe some sort of composting toilet, you know.
I think they have a quantum toilet.
A quantum toilet would make a lot of sense. So but yeah, I mean, it was fun. I mean, that stuff was, you know, inventive. I like the shrinking them when they were being chased by the guys on bikes and just shrinking the fucking bike. Because that would suck. That would suck.
That is a whole bunch of road rash.
Yeah, that's hard. That's rough, man. But yeah, I mean, it was fine. I don't know. It's just like the stuff with Ghost. Like, I really had a hard time with that. I don't. So Lawrence Fishburne's character and Michael Douglas at some point in the past worked at SHIELD and had a falling out. So we get that. All right, fine. The part of what happened, Ghost's daddy also worked with Michael Douglas, and maybe Michael Douglas is just an asshole, or maybe also her dad like actually tried to steal his plans. Whatever, I don't really care. And then he did his own experiment, and it blew up in his face and gave his daughter Shadow Cat powers, basically. Shadow Cat powers that she can't really control.
That are killing her,
yeah,
too.
that are killing her. So she's like upset, but then like Lawrence Fishburne kind of like helps her, but also while he's helping her, presumably, she's also being trained as like an assassin for S.H.I.E.L.D. So you're like, okay, I don't really understand how this relationship is working, because it's like he's supposed to be protecting her and he wants to help her find a cure and stuff, but also like S.H.I.E.L.D's made her an assassin, so it's like there's like a whole past there that I don't really understand what happened. So then like the lab is stolen from them by Ghost, and they go to see Lawrence Fishburne because maybe he has an idea, and he does have an idea. But then it turns out that Lawrence Fishburne was working with Ghost, and they stole the lab together, essentially, and they like kidnapped and tied up fucking Paul Rudd and Hope and Hank. And then I didn't understand from there what was happening, because it's like you have the whole exposition dump. Michael Douglas finds out that like, you know, her power is like super unstable, and I mean he's clearly like he does want to help her, but it's like, we got to get my wife first, you know, because there's like a pretty real clock on that. And I guess also she's gonna die in like a week, because of course that's how these things work. But it just didn't make sense to me, because Lawrence Fishburne is like, yes, let's kidnap him and we'll, you know, steal the lab and stuff, but then maybe not be so mean. And Ghost is like, no, we got to be super mean, because I'm just gonna like get his wife out of here somehow on my own. I'm gonna get her back from the quantum realm and then like suck the energy out of her, because I know how to do that. And it's gonna cure me. So just all of that shit, I couldn't make it work, and that's what informs like so much of this movie. It's just this weird relationship. I can't figure out where Ghost is. I can't figure out what Lawrence Fishburne's relationship is to Ghost. I don't understand why he and Michael Douglas are like, I get like why they're kind of on the outs, but I don't get why it's so extreme. And then it's like they sort of come to an understanding, like, yeah, I want to help. I didn't really get all of that. It was just kind of confusing and sort of a mess. And then of course, because it's a mess, when you get to the end of the movie and Michelle Pfeiffer pops out of the thing, she can just touch her and everything's fine. I'm like, well, I mean, of course, because that's the easiest way to resolve all of this bullshit.
So I have a couple things to say to that. Like, I don't know that we need to know what happens between Lawrence Fishburne and Hank Pym. And I understand that might be taking it out, because I just enjoyed the movie, and I don't want to tell you that you're right. But like, I work with a person, right?
Okay.
And she has a problem with her mother-in-law. And the problem that she has with her mother-in-law is that her mother-in-law keeps trying to do things for her.
Alrighty.
Which is like, buy her a deck.
Oh.
Or buy her all sorts of stuff. And it's just like, no, bitch, I'm going to do it on my own.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, if you were to step back from that, you would understand that this is sort of an irrational way to sort of look at the relationship, right?
Yes.
Because it's like, she's trying to help you, maybe like cut her some slack.
Yeah.
So that two coworkers would work with each other for a long period of time and then grow to resent each other over probably petty differences. In this case with Hank Pym, who apparently has kind of a history of getting rid of people.
Yes.
That doesn't seem so. Like,
no,
I don't need to know exactly what happens.
Well,
I can buy that.
So that's true. It's just that when it results in you taking your coworker and his family and tying them to a chair, like at that point, it's like, maybe I want to understand how it got this far. You know?
I think that Ghost did that by her own, and then eventually Lawrence Fishburne's character showed up
as a kind of shadowy villain entrance.
Yeah, it was. And like in a sense, I kind of like that because it's like a misdirect because the people in this movie, for the most part, like Ghost is probably not a great person.
I don't know. I
seems
guess
like
not, yeah.
it seems like she had sort of a weapon X sort of purpose, and like essentially X-23 except teleportation powers.
Yeah.
And invisibility and whatnot, right?
Phasing.
So
I did like that they brought up the term for it, which is phasing. That is what it's called.
Who cares? But the point is that she's a super secret assassin type.
Yeah.
And she probably did some terrible things. And now she's completely willing to kill other people.
Yeah.
Now, Lawrence Fishburne's character may be willing to momentarily allow his sort of adopted daughter in this sense to tie up some people.
Yeah.
But Hank Pym, he fakes a heart attack, and Lawrence Fishburne's not willing to let him die, even though they hate each other.
Right.
And they may hate each other for really stupid reasons. They may hate each other for really legitimate reasons. It really doesn't matter because either way, it's believable enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like Lawrence Fishburne's character is consistent in that he doesn't think that saving Ghost's life is worth killing other people.
Yes, apparently. Yeah.
I mean, like the math of that works out pretty straightforward. Like if it's +1 for -1, it's still 0. Like we want to come up with something that is above 0 and preferably definitely not negative. Right?
Yeah. Okay.
So I was interested in that. I thought that was all right. I would agree a little bit that the timeline where Fishburne is trying to help Ghost and Ghost is also a super stealth assassin for S.H.I.E.L.D. is not explored in a way deep enough for us to understand as an audience.
Right. Well, and that's where it complicates his character, though, right? Like, that's where it complicates him, and that's why I say the motivations are hard to understand. Because he gives the Pyms the ability, basically, he makes that suggestion to make to give them the ability to track the lab down. But he knows, right, when he's giving them that information, he actually knows exactly where the lab is. He knows that Ghost has it, right? So he gives them that information and then ties them all to chairs and then makes his shadowy villain appearance. And you're like, okay, is he a bad guy? Like, is he a bad guy now? And you're like, and then you get the whole information dump and it's like, well, she was an assassin during this time at S.H.I.E.L.D. and he wants to help her. And you're like, what is the nature of this relationship? Because it's like, I mean, he clearly just betrayed these people and now has them in chairs in order for this girl who he was apparently the caretaker of while she was an assassin, but also he's saying that, you know, he wants to like save her life. So you're like, what's going on there? And then he's like, wait a minute, but we can't go too far. So it's just like, it's just confusing. I think it's hard to call it consistent because it's just kind of whatever the fucking plot needs. And then at that point, when Michael Douglas is like, of course I'm interested in helping her. My immediate reaction was, why wasn't this the plan in the beginning? Like, why wasn't this the first option? And then when it becomes an option, it's just kind of like, well, why don't you let's try to maybe get Ghost a little bit under control. There's no point in her trying to steal the lab from Michael Douglas. There's no point in that because they're both essentially trying to do the same thing. She's at least going to need Michael Douglas to get his wife back from the quantum realm for any of this to make sense in the first place. Like, for any of this to even work out in the first place, it doesn't make sense for her to try to take it on her own. So I just, like, it's hard to work all of those things out in a way that makes sense. And when you have all of that crap, you know, all of that shit at play in a chase scene where people just trade possession of the MacGuffin, it's just kind of hard to like really be all the way into it because it doesn't really make a lot of sense. That's where I'm coming from.
I don't know, because like when I watched the movie, I sort of got the sense that sort of Lawrence Fishburne started helping Ghost after she left Shield. Now, why you would feel like, you know, like the need, like the duty, the emotional necessity to help someone's kid who sort of probably went missing for like 10 years, and as far as your timeline is concerned, is a little bit shaky. I mean, ultimately, I don't know. I think you have to get into a much more serious movie if you're going to explore all of these things, and I don't think that's what Ant-Man is trying to do, and I don't think that's what Ant-Man should try to do, considering the strength of its cast.
Yeah, they should have just thrown out the Ghost stuff, or at least like we didn't need that many competing interests. Honestly, for this movie to work, it didn't need all of that. Walton Goggins would have been a sufficient antagonist for this film. The Ghost and Lawrence Fishburne stuff, I think, just muddies the waters.
I think that like some of that is like playing into the tropes and the expectation of the audience. Now, like I was excited at when I saw Lawrence Fishburne and the whole interaction with everything initially, that the movie was setting us up to defy expectations, which can be sort of good, because like not everything has to be the end of the world. And not every person who's the villain in the movie has to be like a super bad guy. Yeah. Like, hell, if we go back to Civil War, because we do every time, if we go back to Civil War, we get into a situation where my favorite character, Tony Stark, Iron Man, is the bad guy. Right?
I guess so, yeah.
Like, Baron Zemo's the super bad guy, but yeah. Baron Zemo's kind of like this shadowy puppet master for the most part. The person who's driving the plot, who's antagonizing our man Cap, is Iron Man.
Yeah,
arguably the Secretary of State, but the Secretary of State's not putting on a $40 million suit of armor and going out there and punching our boy in the face.
Yeah.
So like, I kind of like the sympathetic villain. I was excited to see a scenario where they didn't have to kill or throw the person in jail, even though in this case Ghost probably deserves it.
I guess
the villain. Yeah. I just I mean, like, you don't know. Like, we don't actually see her. We do see her do quite a bit of property theft that doesn't get anywhere.
That's true. That's true.
In this movie, she does beat some people up. I don't know. If you come in and you fight Wasp while she's stealing from a person who's illegally selling a piece of technology to Evangeline Lilly, like, how is that prosecuted?
I have no idea.
Like, it seems so muddy that you wouldn't even bother bringing the case.
Illegal property, but you know,
yeah,
possession, you got it right there. But
you were trying to steal a thing from someone who stole a thing from somebody else who illegally was selling it to them, but decided not to.
Yeah.
14 years.
Sure. Why not?
I don't know how that works. So I do understand. Like, you could advance the plot of, or you could advance the understanding of Ghost, but I don't know that you could do it in such a way that wouldn't just sort of break up the pacing.
Yeah, probably
of this movie.
So you probably just shouldn't. Yeah, I don't know. I just think it was.
And I think, like, if you were to discard that, though, like, Goggins is not, his character is not sufficiently dangerous to pose a threat to Ant-Man and Wasp, right?
Yeah. It would have been more interesting, potentially, if Ghost was working with Goggins. That may have been a little bit more interesting, and he promised her something, a cure or whatever, something like that. That may have actually made it a little bit tighter. and a little bit more interesting. And then you're like, okay, I see why she's doing this. She was swayed by this dude who's offering her a cure. It's like, you just need to get this technology from Pym. And then once we've got that, we'll be able to find the cure for your power. And you're like, yeah, that would make a lot more sense than this weird Lawrence Fishburne angle. It would just be simpler. And that's what this movie should be. That's what Ant-Man and the Wasp should be. Just simple. Simple, tight, straightforward. And then, you don't have to try to figure out, fuck is Lawrence Fishburne doing? I don't understand. Why is she so emotional? This is a little weird. Why don't they just work together? They're going to have to it anyway. They're going to have to.
They're not going to have to. The issue is like sort of when Spider-Man and Iron Man start fighting the Guardians of the Galaxy in Infinity War, is that nobody's showing their hand, right?
Yeah.
Like,
but that's why it doesn't make sense. Because Lawrence Fishburne does show his hand. Like, and then you're like, okay. Like, all right. I mean, we've got that scene. Now everybody knows what everybody wants to do. So what the fuck? Why are we still running around?
Because like if you I mean, Lawrence Fishburne's like, I'm gonna try to save her life. And like that's sufficiently vague that you don't understand that what he's gonna do is hook up a Hoover vacuum to the magic aquarium that this girl sleeps in. I don't know how to explain these things.
It doesn't make any sense, and that's the other thing that kind of annoys me about it. It's like, what the fuck does Ghost know about?
It makes more sense than nanotechnology,
quantum
because
button.
nanotechnology just starts to become like magic.
Well, I don't know. As soon as they even started talking about sucking quantum energy out of Michelle Pfeiffer, I was like, well, I mean, I guess. I don't know how that's the only conclusion that you could arrive at, but...
Well, I think they said that could kill her.
Maybe. Well, yeah, but also that it might help. Like, why would that do? I don't understand it. It's comic book bullshit, but whatever. But then she can just touch the lady, and then it's fine.
She's full of healing particles.
Full of healing comes out with the healing hands of Christ, I guess.
So. I don't know. I think you're going to either accept it or you don't.
Yeah.
I don't think that, like, for the popcorn eating masses, I don't think that this should be a major hurdle, considering that we've already accepted nanotechnology.
Well, no, I think the movie's doing pretty well too. So yeah, I mean, it's not a bad movie. It's not a bad movie by any means.
I want to go back to the car chase.
Okay. There was a Pez dispenser and...
Midget Radio, how do you think this car chase, how exciting was it compared to the car chase in Deadpool 2?
Oh, I don't know. See, if I'm being honest, I like the car chase in Deadpool 2 better. But that's because I like the characters better. So I'm much more interested in what is going on. But with Ant-Man,
translate that into
Ant-Man is a fucking carnival ride. I mean, that's all it is. It's like it's a spectacle. That's it. The car gets big and then it gets tiny. And when it gets tiny, it like does turns better. And the other cars that don't have the tiny powers can't do the turns as good. So they crash. And then somebody throws a Pez dispenser at a guy and another person shrinks a motorcycle. You know, I mean, that's all great, but, you know, like it's just spectacle. It's fine. I enjoyed it. But there's no, like, I don't know. There's not really any, I don't know. I don't have any real sense of, like, excitement or concern for anybody.
Would it be unfair for me to say that Midget Radio likes the car chase in Deadpool 2 more than this car chase, based almost purely on a bias for the characters?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I have no particular love of Ant-Man himself, or I honestly probably like, and maybe this is working against Deadpool 2. I honestly probably like none of the characters from Deadpool 2 that much better than any of the characters from Ant-Man. except that I do like Domino more, and I was disappointed in Domino's appearance in that movie.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I would say it's pretty well on an even. I don't really have a high investment in either one of these things.
You know, like Cable more than fucking like Hope Van Dyne.
So like Cable, I always found to be kind of okay. So Cable conceptually is not that far off from like Deathlock
Cable
for me.
Awesome.
And the reason why I say that is not so much that I think that Cable and Deathlock are equal amounts of cool, but what happens is that Cable shows up and he's fucking right.
Yeah.
And it's basically exactly the same thing that happens every time that Deathlock shows up. Deathlock shows up and he's fucking right. And you're just like, God damn it, I hate this character.
You know what
he's
Deathlock never says? He has never said, you're a clown dressed up like a sex toy. He's never said that to anybody.
Minus that movie,
ever called anyone a cunt.
Minus that movie, neither has your boy.
That's true, but that's what I'm saying. I mean, we're talking about Deadpool 2 Cable. Josh Brolin, man. Fucking awesome. Fucking awesome.
I did like both of those lines. Right? And I gave it to you that I liked both of those lines. But what I'm saying is, in the grand scheme of things, I had a lot more fun in this car chase than the car chase in Deadpool. Like, in terms of a car chase, there's not really much that happens. Like, they drive straight in the other movie. There's, for the most part, it's, you know, Domino, she's driving the truck, great.
Yeah.
And Deadpool and Cable are having a fight in the back. You know, great.
Yeah.
Other than that, there's not much to it.
Yeah.
Like the size play that they do in this, which is I think kind of like their number one gag with like giant Pez dispensers and using a truck as sort of your skateboard.
I don't quite understand how that works.
It'd have to be like neutral,
he's not.
Right?
Yeah, it would definitely have to be in neutral, but it's like, I mean, steering it. It's not like he's got his fucking finger on the steering wheel or anything. He's just leaning it like a skateboard. I just don't think that. I mean, those wheels are designed to turn. Skateboard wheels aren't really designed to turn like that. And it's like if they would, it seems like, you know, that might get really fucked up.
I feel like you are manufacturing.
No, I don't really understand. And is he going much faster? Because he's Giant Man at that point. It's like, are you driving that much faster when you're rolling on the truck? Or why don't you just like step over the fucking building? I don't know. I just don't really. I
did like the reference to Goliath.
Yeah. I like that. Well, it said Giant Man on the news, which was pretty sweet. I liked that.
Yeah,
that was cool. Yeah, it was all right. You know, I mean, it was fine. It was fine.
It was white hot room good.
It was not that. Yeah, it was fine. I don't know if that's the best thing out of this movie. I mean, you know, that's probably why it didn't rate that high for me.
There's lots of good stuff.
Cause it's cute. It's just cute. The movie's fucking cute and great. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not gonna sing its praises for being adorable. Like,
it is adorable. Is it more or less adorable than the first one?
Oh God. I don't know, man. I don't really feel like there's any appreciable difference between either.
Isn't all the adorable in the first one sort of packed into the end when they're having the fight on the train track?
You get more Michael Pena with his fucking stories in the first one. You really only got that one time in this one.
I kind of like that because it wasn't like what we talked about when we talked about Deadpool was the proclivity for comic sequels to beat a dead horse
Yeah.
just relentlessly.
Yeah. I'm not sure it works all that well, but
I don't think that it did that in this though.
No, it didn't. It didn't. And I'm just not sure the gag works that well in the first place. I mean, it's okay, but yeah, I don't know. The movies they're fine. They're both fine. Both Ant-Man movies are fucking fine. I have nothing really glaringly negative to say about either one. I think maybe the plot for the first one might actually make a little bit more sense to me. It's just a little less like muddied. But because that one you do have the big bad. He's like a bad guy and he goes crazy and you got to stop him. Like, okay, I get that.
Yeah, but that we've seen a lot of that.
Yeah.
And I do like to see things that are a little bit different, and I do kind of like to see the sympathetic villain.
Well, yeah, I mean,
and I'm not sure how sympathetic Ghost is, but at least we get a sense of that, like, all she's trying to do is live, and that. I mean, we as the audience can say whether or not we think that. Like, as a reasonable human being, would you think that somebody who's shrunk to subatomic size 30 years ago is probably still alive, and that hooking up this Hoover vacuum to your greenhouse that you live in that makes you not shift so much, like, that's going to kill them and that you should be really worried about that? Or you're like, well, I'm going to fucking die. I really need to do this.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know how people are going to fall on this. I mean, it's a completely nonsensical question.
Yeah.
So, like, if you feel strongly one way or the other, I'm going to guess that you're going to come down pretty strongly one way or the other in terms of whether or not this movie about a person who can shrink to the size of an atom is good or bad. But other than that, I think they did a pretty solid job. And in terms of a sequel, they didn't fuck it up.
No, they definitely did not do that.
They didn't turn it up to 11 and turn it into some goddamn shit show like Ace Ventura 2 or Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Yeah, I agree with that. Absolutely. Yeah, it wasn't bad. Ant-Man and the Wasp.
I like this movie.
Maybe there will be a third one.
Yeah, did you notice at the end they said Ant-Man and the Wasp will return ?
Question mark, because everybody's fucking dead. I'm pretty sure gonna be fine.
So like fine. That really disappointed me. Like Evangeline Lilly, Michael Douglas, Michelle Pfeiffer.
I know, we just got her, man. It's like, come on.
Yeah, and now you just deleted her into ashes, and it's like, damn it.
And old Ant-Man's stuck in the fucking quantum realm. Maybe he's gonna come out having healing powers too.
Maybe.
It's gonna be fine. They're all gonna come back.
It's just I kind of liked the escape from the everybody dies bit.
Yeah, I get that.
And for the most part, like, I did appreciate it. At least this is kind of a saving grace of the movie. At least they didn't try to integrate that earlier in this, because this is sort of the first.
Would have ruined it. Yeah.
This is sort of the first movie that we've seen that is out of sequence, actually.
Yeah.
Right? Because like the vast majority of everything that's happening here is happening at the same time, I guess, as Infinity War.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how Giant Man wandering through a harbor terrorizing a tiny little tourist boat is, like bigger news than there's aliens descending in Wakanda.
Yeah.
Maybe it's all behind their stupid technology. Nobody can see it.
That's true. It's all in the invisible shield.
I said that,
Yeah.
but I said stupid technology.
Well, it's called
Instead.
invisible shield. That's the copyrighted term.
Okay. Not invisibility shield?
No, just invisible shield.
That's so fucking dumb.
Yeah.
Let's see. Is there anything else that we need to say about Ant-Man and the Wasp?
No. I mean, I like the cast.
I kind of love Evangeline Lilly.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You fall in love with everyone.
Well, that's true.
How can you
true.
not?
I know. So, I mean, I'm there. I wish she had a little bit more to do. I don't know. Hope's character is just like there's. I don't get it. Like first Ant-Man movie, right? It's like I can be a badass too, daddy. And then the second movie is just like, Scott, I'm very disappointed in you. Very disappointed all the time until you get my mother back, and now I guess we're together again. And
I think like there was a lot of, because a lot of that is you kind of have to read into Michael Pena's little story.
yeah,
Where is Scott Lang? And he describes his emotional state,
Yeah.
which is so stupid
yeah,
that it's funny.
it was. I don't know. I can't figure her out a little bit. It's kind of annoying.
And
too.
like and from that you can kind of piece together that they kind of had a relationship after the original Ant-Man when she
Yeah.
had that sweet Sisters of Battle haircut and goddamn.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
and then like they had a falling out after he got arrested,
Yeah.
which makes sense. Date night when you're on house arrest is probably fairly predictable.
Sure.
Honestly, I thought that whole thing was done pretty well. Like the introducing it with the ridiculous lengths that he's gone to.
Yeah, that was. It was very cute. Yeah.
to entertain his daughter,
Yes.
and then accidentally puts his foot through the fence and has this huge
Yeah.
to do about everybody's looking around. Greatest grandma in the world. It's like all that stuff's really cute.
Very
and
cute.
It's
Yes.
fun and it works.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
But like you could understand why if your boyfriend was arrested for throwing a plane at an Avenger, right?
But then she's
guess-
like, if you would have called me, you wouldn't have gotten caught. And it's like, this is stuff about Hope that I would have liked to have known. It would be more interesting to me if she was pissed at him for not inviting her to come along. Like that would be,
But that's kind of exactly the purpose of that statement.
But it's just annoying because it's just a cute little flirtatious thing in the movie. Up until that's all it is at that point. Like she's just. This is just the Ant-Man movies. These characters there's not really a lot of development there. And they're not that interesting to me.
You are biased, sir.
I may be biased against like a little bit just because they're also, I don't know because
This movie is
like
solidly
Iron Man.
better than half of
Tony Stark is fucking great.
the X-Men movies.
I don't know. Maybe.
Probably.
I don't know about
it.
solidly, but solidly.
I'm gonna take
Too
issue
strong
with your adjectives
an adjective.
and not.
Solidly feels like an exaggeration.
All right,
Like
we're gonna go back to
Marginally
X-Men
better,
3,
yeah.
and we're gonna be like, how
Yeah.
adjectively
This solidly,
is this better?
I would
than-
agree with. And X-Men Origins Wolverine, obviously the two biggest fucking disasters of the franchise. Ant-Man and the Wasp manages to outdo those films. So that's really saying something about the quality of Ant-Man and the Wasp. But high praise.
It really doesn't. But if we were to start talking about the Wolverine,
yeah, the Wolverine's better than this movie. Wolverine's
no,
better.
it's not.
Yeah, it is. It is.
It is not simply because White Hot Room.
It is.
And
White Hot Room. I like all the stuff.
Silver Surfer Samurai
everything
Iron Man
in fucking Japan is better. Oh, also the character is way fucking more interesting than literally anybody in Ant-Man and the Wasp. Maybe if
Venom?
Wolverine was like cuter, or if he threw a Pez dispenser at somebody, Tactic Angel would think it was a really quality movie. But
I have developed a suit that is a robotic adamantine Iron Man suit.
yeah.
I have developed this specifically for the purpose of cutting your claws in half and then trying to suck the marrow out of them.
That is way more ridiculous than I was in the quantum realm and now I have the healing power of Christ. Because
I agree.
Whatever.
I agree. That is way more ridiculous.
Way more ridiculous.
I did.
I like this. Now we're just being dicks at the end of this episode.
No, I'm gonna be nice because I was about to be nice.
I like being dicks. Come on.
I appreciate sort of the Federation mentality
Oh, here it is.
to help your enemy become a better person.
Okay.
And I got a little bit of this when I was watching it
Really?
because
You got it.
they weren't specifically trying to kill the ghost. They were just trying to stop her from killing someone else.
That's true.
And then like the
Wasp were
Lawrence
not
Fishburne
trying to
thing,
kill her.
Lawrence Fishburne at the end is trying to embrace her as a person rather than seeing her just as the things that she had done prior to that.
Right. Which is what
And
he's
so,
been
like,
doing, I guess, the whole time. But yeah.
Star Trek, man.
Yeah.
It's all about Star Trek.
It is all about Star Trek.
Do you have anything else to add to this?
I do. That one guy who wrote on Next Generation and DS9 says the DS9 documentary is going to be out this year. That's all.
Okay.
That's all.
Well, if it is out this year and we hear about it, we will certainly watch it.
Good
and
Lord,
talk
yes.
about DS9, which I have actually been watching a good deal of recently.
Oh, good for you. Good show.
Yeah. You know,
My
I gotta familiarize myself with all of the episodes of that so that I can quote the episode titles. Like I can quote so many episode titles from the Next Generation.
My Star Trek buddy, who's the girl that I was helping move earlier today, is on like the last episode of DS9, like the season finale. She just has that to watch right now.
I need to text message
Or
Blue
series
Sky
finale.
Giant to see if we're gonna go to trivia and name ourselves I Hate the Theater.
You should do that. But Tactic Angel, the series finale of DS9. I mean, we all remember what happens. I can't wait. This will be her first time seeing it. I'm really excited to hear about her experience. The first...
that is not the best episode. Like, All Good Things was a pretty good season finale.
Yeah.
Or
Series, yeah.
a series finale. Honestly, it's probably the only one that was any good. Because, like, the Voyager one is pretty shit. Because it's like, we're going to travel through time to commit genocide.
Against the Borg. And it's not even genocide. How does destroying the transwarp system, right? Because they're still fine in their little quadrant.
No, they're going to, once that happens, they're all going to die.
I don't believe that. I don't think they annihilated the Borg with that. I don't think there's anything about destroying the trans. That's an interesting debate. I don't think there's.
the end of Enterprise was pretty shit from almost any
Yeah.
perspective that you can take, other than we got to see Will Riker again.
Yeah.
DS9 would have been the only one that could have contended, and it is utter insanity.
It is almost the ending of Evangelion, but just like,
honestly, if they had just
why
scribbled
not?
on the
Yeah.
screen for 5 minutes and rolled the credits, it would have been a better ending. But they did something else, and that whole, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
Kai Wynn.
Oh my god, I know. I don't even want to, because this was a review of Ant-Man and the Wasp, but now
It's
we're
so
talking about
gross.
Star Trek.
It's so
the
fucking gross.
It's literally the grossest coupling I've ever seen. I can't.
All right, so we should end the episode, right?
Yeah.
So this has been episode number 59 of the Wednesday Night Gentlemen. We managed to talk about Star Trek successfully,
For a long time.
in case anyone's keeping track. Please give us a like if you've enjoyed this video. Subscribe to our channel if you really want to. You can find us on Twitter, where we are at WNG_MME_OPC. You can head on over to Facebook, where we are simply the Wednesday Night Gentlemen. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we will see you again on episode number 60 of the Wednesday Night Gentlemen Multimedia Empire official podcast.
Bye-bye.